Hello, this is Velma here, also known as Mama Mabel, and I have my comrade Ginger who likes to perch back there with me. Um, and I'm excited today to talk about special time and video games. But before we get into that, I'd love to hear something going well because it's really important in all of our practices to acknowledge the good things and take a little moment to celebrate the wins. I know I don't do that often enough. And yeah, so I'll go with my intro and win, which is I'm Velma, you know me. I have a 13-year-old boy. He's um, really into video games, which is why I'm here. And um, one really cool thing this week was that a couple days ago, I wanted to stream myself playing a game, and I needed tech support, so I called my son who's at his dad's, and he helped me out. And then he's like, "Hey, mom, do you want to play on the server with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." So that's what we did. We streamed playing on the server, and like he toured me around this server that he's on that he made. He made a Minecraft server for him and his friends. And he gave me a tour and outfitted me and pranked me and killed me and did all these great things. And it was really wonderful to see all the work that he's put into this place that he and his friends get to play. It was really, really cool. So, if you could introduce yourself with your name and I know Corey, you introduced your kids already, but like if you could just say your kids and like what you'd like to get out of this today and your win. What's going well?
Okay. I'm Corey, so I have three girls. Ryan is 9, Regan is 7, and Nora is 4. And I mean, I'm not totally inept at parenting, I guess sometimes I feel like that, but um uh today I guess was good because my oldest got out of bed without too much of a disaster happening. Um, it's raining really hard here, and they were supposed to have an outside activity all day at school, so that got canceled, and she was really excited about it. But we managed to get through without too much problems. So I was better at listening and comforting her than my normal like, okay, but we have to go. So
Good
yeah,
job.
sometimes that's hard.
It is. It is. But like that is a really big win. That is a beautiful thing to be able to support a disappointment like that. Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you, Corey. Patty?
Hey, I'm Patty, and my sons are in their 50s, and my grandkids are one's graduating college next about in a few weeks, and the other two are sophomores. They're going to be juniors next year in college. And let's see, and I have two stepdaughters and one stepdaughter, and one of my sons live with us right now. And I made a new recipe with fish on Monday night, and it was an absolute disaster. It stunk. It tasted terrible. We had to throw it out, and it has and it has provided a lot of laughter. For which I'm really grateful. It was like, oh, this is so bad. We really have to laugh. It's like not just half bad, it's really bad. And it stunk up the kitchen overnight. I had to go take all of the garbage out. Anyway, it just is providing me a lot of occasion to laugh, and my husband too. So it was a good try.
My dogs would have loved it.
Oh, I don't think so. I think
You do not even know what
oh
they
God.
would have thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Oh God. Well,
Yeah, they're disgusting. It's okay.
Anyway.
All right. So, let's see. Um, a little bit about special time. So special time is one of hand-in-hand parenting's parenting by connection tools. And I am a hand-in-hand parenting certified instructor. And Patty happens to be, is it okay if I say Patty?
Whatever.
It is. Patty happens to be the founder of Hand in Hand and a good friend of mine. So I learned these tools from her, which so it's just a treat to have you here, Patty, to see
Thanks. Yeah.
like how they've helped in this other realm.
Yeah. This other realm I don't know anything about, so I'm here to learn.
So the 5 tools are special time, stay listening, play listening, setting limits, and listening partnerships. And they all go together really well. And I often find that special time is the easiest first way in. The idea behind the hand-in-hand tools is that our kids are wired for connection, and these tools are ways that help us connect with our kids, strengthen our connection with our kids, repair our connection with our kids, but also like equip ourselves to do that better. That's what the listening partnerships is. So I know that I have used all of the tools with video games over the years. And special time is a really good way to like like I said, it's a really good starting place. Special time is where you set aside a time where you get to give your child undivided, enthusiastic attention. And they get to lead and they get to we get to celebrate how they are and what they're doing. And when they're for me, when my kid was little, when he was little, like up through probably age 8 or 9, it was really easy to give special time. Having a timer is a big part of it, and that helps a lot because it can be really challenging to give extended attention like that for a long time. So like we set the timer and we say, hey, I can give you attention for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever works for you in your schedule and your capacity in that moment. So he and I had this practice of special time from when he was little. And he got to be older, he got to be 8, 9, 10, and he started getting into video games. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what he's really into. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try giving special time to him around video games. And like I had a lot of feelings about it. It's like I'm guilty. I felt guilty for letting my kid have a screen as much. I felt it's like, is this okay for me to be connecting with him over this? And what I found over the years was that yes, it was okay because my celebrating his world and being in that world with him made the rest of the time easier because he felt understood and he felt seen. And that led to easier time setting limits and easier time with transitions. Not that it was always easy, but like easier. So building that foundation and relationship of connection with him was hard and good. There's so I'm going to go over the mechanics of special time, and then I may check my slides to see what I want to talk about next. But like, so special time has 4 main steps. The first is naming it, telling your kid that you're going to do special time, that you are going to be with your child for a certain amount of time. And they get to pick whatever it is they want to do. And in this case, if they pick a video game, that's like an enthusiastic yes. Yes, a video game. The second step is setting a timer. Setting a timer is really, really important. And this can be tricky. Like with video games, what's tricky about timers is that the game often goes on beyond the timer. There are very few games that can be inside of a 5-minute timer or a 10-minute timer. Games are designed to want to keep you playing and interacting. So thinking about how you're going to end your timer and your time before you set the timer is important. So does gaming end with special time, or does gaming get to continue after special time? With my kid, I often let him game after special time is over. But we have a conversation about the ending. It's like, so I'll be with him and I'll say, I have 10 minutes. Let's hang out. What do you got? Can I sit with you? And then there's the being with. The third step is actually doing it, sitting with them, being enthusiastic and being like, oh, wow, what is this about? Like, and depending on the activity that kids like to do in special time around gaming, like you may need different levels of involvement. So this is another nuance to video game special time. Let's say there are like 2 or 3 common activities that work well in special time for video games. One is watching a YouTube video about the game. Like watching a Minecraft YouTube video is a very, very, very common thing. Like, it's how kids learn how to play the game. It's entertaining often. So I consider watching a video about the game gaming, because it's like reading the instruction manual. So when there's a video that you're watching with your child, that's a great place to have a conversation. Like, oh, how's that work? I still don't understand redstone, and it's okay. But I still ask the questions, and he's like, Mom, I've explained this before. I'm like, I know, but keep trying. So ask questions, especially if it's a video, like have a conversation. That's another type of activity, is just watching them play the game. And so this is interesting. Depending on the game, they may be able to have a conversation with you. They may want to show things off to you, or they may just need to focus, because some games take a lot of concentration. So that can be another type of conversation to have with your kid. It's like, oh, is it okay for me to ask questions, or do you just want me to watch what you're doing? Just as an aside, it's very common in the gaming world for people to watch each other play video games. Like we do that here at our house all the time. That's one way to play a video game, is to have one person using the control and like be making the decisions together about what happens in the game. Oh, do we go right or do we go left? Do we build this? Do we build that? So that's one way to engage with a video game where you're not holding the controller. And then the third main way is to play the game with them with like a controller or something in your hand. So that's about offering special time and like being in it. And the fourth one is ending it. Special time comes to an end. And there's a lot of different things that can happen at that ending. And depending on the age and the independence and the mood of you and your child and what else is going on in your house. So, um, if special time ends video game time, then I would say, okay, for all video game time ever, make space for transition. It's really, really hard to just hit the off button because you could lose something, your game could not be saved. Like, so a really important part of gaming with your kid in a way that feels connecting is respecting that the game and video games is a valid form of play that um, can be respected. And the way that respect shows up is by going, okay, what do we need to do to end this well? By actually asking instead of coming in and like setting a hard limit. Sometimes that may be necessary to set a hard limit, but it can be really good, much better to say, what do you need to do before you end? Or if you're playing with them, to say, okay, special time's over. I need to end my play now. I'm going to do this before I end. What are you going to do before you end? Or do we need to get back to a bed? Or do we need to save? Or like, do you want to write down what you're doing so that we don't forget it later? Like, those are some of the things that you can do to help make the ending easier. So those are the 4 big steps of special time, and those are some of the ways that video gaming being can be interacted with through that, and some of the nuances of that. So that's all I need to say. I would love questions for clarification because I mean, there's a ton I could say, but like this is a short format thing. So questions, comments, any?
Thank you.
Oh,
I mean, that was good. My kids play Roblox and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So my thought is like, why do we always have to be on screens? And like it kind of makes me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it, and I honestly did download it, but I cannot figure it out to save my life. So um yeah, that's good. Good advice.
Yeah. Well, what you hit on is what I hear from a lot of parents, and it's like true of my experience. We didn't get into Roblox, but we got into Minecraft, and it took me literally 2 years of watching him play before
Yeah.
I understood enough to be able to play it myself.
Oh,
It is not make sense to me. It did not make sense to me.
yeah. I can play the first Nintendo. That's about as much
Yeah.
as I can do, and I can't even do that well, but the 3D throws me off, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
so that
It's a different skill set. It's a different way of looking at things, and it's unique. And so, like, one of the other things I talk about in my Game on Mom special time and video games class is like, what is the broader context that you have screens in your family? So, like, how much time you have for special time and screens partly depends on like what works for you and your family with the rest of the screen time that you have. So it's not like there needs to be no limits or there needs to be screens all the time. But like thinking about it holistically in context and like knowing that like what works for you and for your kid may look different than what is supposed to be working or we're supposed to do. And the other thing that I say is that like flexibility is super important because what works on one day may not work for the next day because your kid's in a different mood, or you didn't sleep and you have different capacity. Or and then also like what works for one kid at one age doesn't work for the other kid at the other age. And what works for what worked for my kid at 8 is different than what worked for my kid at 4 and what worked for my kid at 10. So,
Do you find that doing the screen, like when you first started doing this, I guess,
mhm.
um, and and doing that time around gaming and stuff like that, does it help with them wanting to do more other things with you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, my and so my doing special time period with your child, whether it's screens or not screens, is a good thing.
Right.
Like,
So do you say like, you know, today, like do you make a, well, I guess it's special time is like child driven, but
mhm,
I mean, some people just say no screens for special time and they do other things. But um I get like doing games if they're into it is could be an important like um thing to get to know them more and stuff. But like can you set limits on like let's do gaming like twice a week and then do other things the rest of the time? I mean, is that
absolutely. Absolutely. Like I call that an experiment. I experiment all the time with my parenting. So like if if he's like, well, let's try it. Let's try it's like, we get to do special time on your video game twice a week. Let's try that and see what that's like. And the rest of the time, it's like, nope, we're not doing screen special time. I've definitely done that.
okay?
So, and that was more of how it was when he was younger.
Mhm.
Or another thing that happened when he was younger is we would have two special times, and one would be screens and one would be not screens.
Okay.
So I only have one child, so that was easier for
Right.
me.
That might be a little tough for me, but
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, I get that. And then I mean, I mean, I've tried to do this in the past, but it does just get to be a lot with three kids. So it just kind of goes by the wayside when you're working full time and cooking dinner and cleaning up and so um I anticipate that there will be times when we kind of all have to do things, which we do that as a family. We have game nights and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which are very good and they're very positive, and I can see a difference when we make that a priority um, in their moods for sure. So
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
that
Parenting's
sounds
hard.
great. Great. And I only have one kid. So, um, Patty, you have multiple children. Any tips for her about doing special time with multiple kids?
Um, no, I don't feel like my experience, which was, raising kids, which was 40 years ago, is really very relevant to this particular conversation. I, I, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Okay.
I think just all of us are experimenting all the time, and that including children into your experiment. Say, well, let's try it this way this week, and then on Sunday night, let's talk about how you liked it, what you liked, what you didn't like, and then we'll decide what experiment we do next week. And sometimes you'll have to say, no, this week so and so is coming to our home, that it puts stress on me when they come. So that's not an experiment that I can help you with this week. We're going to have to change the experiment and look forward to another time when we can do that the way you want to do it. You still have to stay in charge, although you're experimenting, but getting feedback, and treating your leadership as something that they have input on, and treating your guesses as to what might work as something we all can learn from. All of those things probably are good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patty. And like I have about 4 years ago, I became a single mom and I started having more and more of those conversations with my child. Like, this is what I have capacity for. This is like what I can do. How can that work for you? Or what is it that you're needing? And like, what I found is that like the more honest I was with what I had to work with, like he could understand that. So if you can only handle this type of experiment this week, or like doing special time with one child a day, or eh,
Yeah.
like
No,
they
that's
get it.
they're smart. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. But yeah, I tend to like talk to them about my capacity after I've already like hit the wall.
Yeah,
Um,
that happens.
and then I'm
That
like, I'm
definitely happens.
sorry, I'm stressed out, whatever it is. And that's obviously harder for them to get because I've already like lost it.
But that's the repair work that
Right.
you're doing, that models to them that they don't have to be perfect and they don't have to have everything figured out either. So, like, that is real and that is good.
Yeah.
Um, and one other thing I will say about why I think doing video games for special time is important, and that is because for some kids, video games are a very, very, very important part of their play.
Mhm.
Especially for neurodivergent kids who have a harder time with imaginative play or a harder time with social play. Video games can be a, a way for them to connect to their imagination, or a way for them to connect with their friends that makes sense to them and works for them. And so, and other people just love the video games, and they're like, it gives kids confidence, it gives them a sense of competence, it teaches them so many things. But like, if if there is a thing that somebody loves, that like the example I use, this is a way good, it's like, I'm a quilter. I made this quilt behind me that my puppy is perching on. Like, if I shared this, my it's like, oh yeah, I'm a quilter, I just made this, and somebody was like, somebody that I cared about was like, ew, why do you quilt? That's an old lady thing to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would feel sad and hurt that and I wouldn't want to share with them again about
Right.
what
No,
I was excited about. So
that makes a lot of sense. And it is like, yeah, because I do that. I crochet and I do a lot of things too. And I know like I would love to teach my kids that stuff, or I love it when they're asking me what I'm doing or whatever. But then um yeah, that makes sense. It's just screens are like newer and they're hard for me to, and it's scary too because Roblox is online and
yeah.
probably all this other stuff is too. And I think that I've done my due diligence of blocking the things where they can chat with other people or other people can ask them to be friends because I know there's a lot of weirdos out
Yeah,
there
Roblox.
that prey on kids.
Yeah.
And so, I've set the age limits and I've turned all of that where they can talk to other people off.
Mhm.
Um, so hopefully, but my technology, I mean, it's just changing all the time. So I worry about stuff like that too. So I think that's where it's just, yeah, makes me nervous. And so that's why I feel like I've pushed back on it so hard. Um,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
understandable. It's okay to have limits.
yeah,
It really is.
yeah,
And it's important to be smart about what our kids do get to see. Like my son's first like 8, 9 years of screen time was very highly curated by me. Like I was all over Common Sense Media. It's like, oh, this game looks good. This game like was very curate. Like I was very protective. And then
Mhm.
there comes an age where like they have more freedom and we have less oversight. And that's what started happening with Minecraft. I'm like, oh wow, he is going off into this whole other world over here. Like I want to be in that with him to make sure that he's doing well in that.
Right.
And what I found is that he's really smart about online safety in ways that aren't instinctual for me. And I think that's partly because like we would do it together, and it's partly because he's a digital native, and it's like
Mhm.
and I also trust that like if he comes
Right.
across something that isn't good for him or that is kind of sketch, like he would come to me because I have been supportive and open in the discussions and the things that he showed me so far. Like
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
so like being with our kids in their world of this online space is important
Yeah.
because it communicates to them that they're not bad for liking the thing they like. And it's
Right.
when they feel judged sometimes from like, oh my God, you're doing that too much, or why are you spending so much time playing a game? Like they could, that's a place where hiding and shame and distance could start to come in. So
Yeah.
it's important to be able to connect with them about what they're up to and help them learn what healthy boundaries and limits are for themselves.
Yeah.
Process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I probably needed to hear that.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to share that. Like
Uh,
it's it's uh it's a wild world out there and
it is. And you just want to like, but you can't. You're right. I just have to trust there's, and they are smart and
yeah.
just, but me getting to know it better will help, I think.
Yeah. And I will mention like you're probably familiar with listening partnerships, taking all of those things that you don't want to do and that you're afraid of and that you don't like to your listening partnership for listening time is essential to being able to show up.
What's this listening? What are you talking about
Okay.
now?
So listening time, listening partnership, that's where two parents share equal time and they listen to each other and they listen holding the belief, the thought that the each parent is good and they are doing their best and they'll figure it out. And
Okay.
there's no advice given. There's um, no judgments made. And it's the person who's sharing gets to be honest about all the things that are hard and it's a space to like go, oh my God, I really hate Minecraft zombies. And why does he need to play Minecraft all the time? He's fire hosing me all the time about like redstone. I don't even get like, why can't we
Yeah.
just like go for a walk?
Yeah.
So it's a place to offload all of those things that It's just that come up, they get in the way.
Yeah,
They get in
right.
the way of us being able to be open and curious.
Okay.
And it's a hand-in-hand tool, and there are some really good resources on the Hand in Hand's Mighty Networks about like helping to find other listening partnerships with parents who are familiar with this, if you'd be
Okay.
interested in that. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So,
Well, good. That's all. This was great for me. I'm still learning all the things, but it was good.
oh, good. Well, we're all still learning all the things. We really
Correct.
it's time for us to begin wrapping up. If we could all go around and just share one thing we appreciated about or a takeaway maybe from uh, today's conversation.
Well,
Well,
my
I'll
biggest
start.
one that, oh, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate the overview that you gave us today. Just the various ways that, basically how to anticipate, you know, and set up what they want us to do during special time if they are gaming, and how, the various, ways that they can use our attention or ignore our attention, or seem to ignore it because it always goes in, even if they're not showing, giving us, you know, oh mom, it's so good to have you here. It's like that almost never happens. Um, so, and just your overview is very, very helpful, Velma. And Corey, it's fun to meet you.
Oh,
And
thank you. You too.
I'm tempted to just say we could do little 5 minutes each way listening, if we wanted to.
Yeah, but I
That's
would want to turn off the recorder for that.
yeah,
So,
sure, for sure.
yeah.
So
I
thank
think oh, sorry.
you. I'm done.
My biggest takeaway was just I really need to uh work on the like judgment and shame of like wanting to be on the tablets and gaming all the time because it's just had been a struggle for me. So um yeah, that it makes sense to,
Yeah.
give them some more, I don't know, freedom around that, and then hopefully just sit in and kind of understand it a little better and make it less of a issue in my life.
Thank
But
you.
that's all.
Thank you for sharing. Um my takeaway. My takeaway is that like I probably I've worked on developing the content and talking about like special time and setting limits, but I think I've we need I want to talk more about listening time and listening partnerships and what we can do to support each other and ourselves in like lifting that judgment and shame that we feel.
Yeah.
So I know I've dealt with that too. So like, thank you. And thank you, Corey, for like asking great questions and sharing your experience. I really appreciated hearing that. And thank you, Patty, for being here. It's always a treat
Yeah,
to
thank you.
share space with you.
And Corey, I want to say it's really easy to tell what a good mom you are, just from your tone of voice and your questions, and what you've already figured out. It's just like, wow. I Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think I'm pretty hard on myself, but I try.
Yeah. Yeah. That's extremely obvious. Um, so one of the things I'm a beginner at is being a businesswoman. And so as a businesswoman, I have to do the uncomfortable thing and say, I have a class that is called Game on Mom, and that goes into more depth on special time and the mindset and the ending, especially of how to do this with your kid and video games. So it is on my website. It is $47, and I'll be teaching it live again in June. I think June 24th or 5th. So,
Is the class one time?
yeah, it's a one-time session. It's 90 minutes, and I think it's in the afternoon. Like, I think it's about this time too, because I'm learning to set boundaries around my working hours, and I'm trying to put the things during the day.
Good, good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yes.
So thank you both for showing up. I'm going to end the recording.